I am not the responsible person for this course. Taina Ruuskanen and Aune Kallinen have been the people who have actually been coordinating this course. So actually the sort of credit goes to them, but I will present this now if I manage to find a way to go forward. All right, so what is the motivation for this climate change related art and science course? From the kind of climate change point of view, the idea is to study and practice the communication of climate change related issues to scientists, but also to non-scientists, because there tends to be a problem that the scientists sort of can communicate to each other, or at least within a narrow field, but then we need to practice and learn how the non-scientists are receiving this information and what kind of information they are most seeking for. And of course, this is important because the society has to find out solutions, and it's not only up to the scientists that they can sort of dictate that these are our solutions, stick to these, the rest of humanity. We have to actually work on the solutions with non-scientists. And one separate, or not separate, but a kind of interconnected issue is that we've actually, all of us, both scientists and non-scientists, experience a lot of feelings, unpleasant feelings, probably fear, despair, things like that, when we are facing climate change and facing facts related to climate change. So how can we kind of overcome the feelings in such a way that we are motivated by them rather than paralyzed by them? How can they help us to find solutions rather than just make us hopeless? The course aims are not so different in a broader picture than what was talked about before, exchange of skills and knowledge, but in this case, the skills and knowledge are even further apart than in this sort of usual intensive courses. So idea is to practice transdisciplinary communication, foster respect for and interest in expertise that is unknown to me, because we have sometimes a tendency to shut down or be kind of avoid topics and kind of exercises where we are completely novices. We don't know anything about it and it's a completely new world. So how we should practice to kind of immerse also in activities where the others are the experts and we are complete beginners on a different level than in a scientific field course. You are a complete beginner in a field, but you still probably have some background in science due to your studies. So in this case, you are even more of a beginner. And this kind of exchange of ideas and immersing into other cultures can create new practices. So we can adapt ways of working from other communities, but we can also create completely new ways of working. And it's important to emphasize integration rather than just like, now we work like scientists, now we work like artists. We should somehow find the midway where we have components of both of these traditions. And then this I also sort of touched upon, that the aim is to empower the students so that they face the feelings such as worry, anger, regret, despair, and support to kind of face these feelings and turn them into something that helps to change the world. Kind of a very overreaching goal is to is to try to work on practical means to address climate change. So that what can you actually do, either as a private person or as an activist, to try to affect the wider kind of society. So we have had 2 courses like that. 2 years ago we had a Think Like a Forest residential course in Vallisaari outside Helsinki, where the students lived in tents and cooked their own food, which was quite an intense experience. Last year, just a year ago, we had the course Climates of Change in Hyytiälä, which was a little bit more, how to say, catered for. So they did sleep in ready-made building, and also the food was provided by the Hyytiälä catering. So it was a little bit less intensive on the sort of supporting your own existence side of things. We were supposed to have a 3rd course this summer, or this August actually, in Hyytiälä, no, in Kuninkaansaari, which is next to Vallisaari, but that is cancelled now due to this situation. Now I have to stop for a second. Sorry, this is live. I'm cooking something that is a very, very long process, and I had to turn the heat off, otherwise it burns. So, okay, back to the topic. So we have had diverse participants, even more diverse than on the courses that were discussed earlier. I mean, also those courses have had several nationalities, but these have had a mix of Helsinki, University of Helsinki, Faculty of Science, University of Arts, the Theatre Academy, and University of Helsinki, Faculty of Agriculture and Forestry, and Aalto University people. And the students' fields have been aerosol physics, cryosphere, geophysics, environmental sciences, landscape architect, dance, sound design, and dance pedagogy. Perhaps there has been some others, but this gives you a flavor that there has been quite a spread of different people with different expertise on the courses. Also, the teachers have come from both the Theatre Academy and University of Helsinki, Faculty of Sciences and Faculty of Agriculture. So there has been a spread in the teachers as well. I think one of the challenges has been to create diverse activities that do not fall into the category of that science produces the content and then art makes it happen. So some of them have been very kind of divided along these lines, and that's fine, but we have really tried to design activities where sort of these traditional now or the kind of self-evident roles would not happen. There has been a lot of group work, there has been a lot of kind of experimental practices, how to change the mood of the lectures by for example, building this kind of tents, or how do you call them, into the lecture hall. Some of them look quite traditional, the activities. Some of them have happened in the nature, and I'm just showing these 2 figures at the bottom is this physical quantum phenomena, which is kind of counterintuitive, where these electrons actually form these kind of lines when they go through these split screens. And then we created an activity where the people represented the electrons and were kind of trying to go in a way inside the electrons world, how they are behaving in this experiment in the Hyytiälä football field. So that's one example of, at least for me, it's illustrative if you try to physically somehow go into the world of a phenomenon which you are trying to understand. And maybe for artists this is a common practice, but for us physicists we are maybe more shy, or do it more rarely, or do it only in our heads, or consider it, you know, less of a rigorous approach. But I thought it was quite fruitful to try to do that openly, and it turned out that other scientists were also feeling that this gave some new insight into the phenomenon for them. Okay, so short outcome. We think we managed to bring the people from different backgrounds together, build an atmosphere of trust and collaboration, and this exercise was very productive. The participants went through some quite rough feelings related to the climate change anxiety, but there was also a sort of safe space to deal with those feelings, so that it was kind of easier to leave the worst despair behind. The students and the teachers found this collaboration inspiring and activating, and they did gain new insights from each other. It is not easy though. Collaboration in a diverse team is not easy. All words mean different things. It's even more difficult to agree on things than normally, even with the course coordinators, because we just have so different cultures of operating. And as I already kind of touched or said briefly, that students felt also that they learned a lot about themselves and their own field when trying to explain it or trying to demonstrate it to people who did not know much about it at all. Or when they went through exercises in topics that were completely known to them, but the exercises were of a new kind. So they sort of felt that they got a new angle on their own old knowledge. And I think this figure has been shown already before, that the productivity versus time for diverse teams, it takes time before the group forms and before it builds trust. But when this time is given and this group building is facilitated effectively, then well-managed diverse teams actually are more productive than homogeneous teams that are equally well managed. So there is a price you have to pay, and kind of extra time you have to put into it, but it benefits that you have people from very different backgrounds. Of course, one thing for these courses is that all the people are very motivated, at least to begin with. So we can't take all the students that apply for this course. So they are very motivated, selected group. So that helps with the overcoming these initial problems. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Hanna. Please, if you have any questions, you can direct address addressed directly to Hanna. I see a couple of comments, positive, that Irina, I think it's our coordinator, scientific coordinator, look very interesting, very new concept. And there is information also from Sini Karpinin with direct link.
Yep.
Irina, Inga, would you like to comment?
Yes, I would like to comment because I met with this concept a little bit earlier. Exists very famous article from Einstein where he mentioned that arts gives him more for his research than some physical theories. Since this time I started interested in this topic. However, I can say that it's really very innovative for our academic community at our university, MIPT. So, and I'm interested now what was reaction, not students, but your professors working in the fields of physics, mathematics, fundamental science, their reaction to this course, arts and science.
I'm not aware of any consistent or survey of their reactions. I mean, some of them think it's great, some of them think it's a bit of fun, but not very, very, very serious. Some of them kind of realize that this is not only just like, you know, making art with the science, but actually our scientific community could actually kind of profoundly learn something and benefit. That even if there are no art products or no kind of output to society in the form of art, but we could still, I mean, there will be from these courses, at least indirectly, but even if there weren't that some of us will actually learn.
Mm-hmm. But as I understood, reaction of students was very positive, or very positive to this course.
Yes, with a few exceptions. Some people considered, especially the first course, too rough because it was very intensive and there was a lot to do because they had to take care of, you know, everything in a fairly primitive way because they were living in the tents and etc. But those were a couple of few exceptions. Otherwise, the students were very, very positive about it. And in fact, the students of the previous courses have sort of wanted to come together and visit the next courses as kind of visitors because they built some sort of community feeling as well. So I think that shows that we achieved something, some kind of integration.
Yeah, and maybe this course will be interesting, first of all, for our pedagogical universities involved to the project. What do you think, Vitaly or Natalia Lomovtseva? So to implement at your doctoral training centers. Vitaly Kopnov, do you hear me?
I'm here.
Natalia, yeah, what do you think? Just it's because it's for MIPT academic activities, it's too innovative.
I agree with you, Irina. It is very interesting for doctoral center in especially our university because our problems about vocational education, pedagogical education, it's very interesting for us. Yes.
Yeah, it will be very innovative. So when I analyze some transferable skills. This course might be unique for our project. Really, this is new. This is really new, and
yes.
let's try to think. Let's start to think about this course and evaluate our session and to think about this course. Might be for a future. It will be very demanded from PhD students.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we should to discuss this idea. Yeah, I think it's very innovative for us. Yes.
Yes, for sure. Yes, thank you, Ksenia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we can proceed to the last presentation of our last session.